The struggles I'm facing and the troubles I have to overcome to record this every time, you can't even imagine. It's the third day in a row I am trying to put this video together, and like the yoga teacher told yesterday, I love her, she said, take up some space because you deserve that. And yes, I think we have to remind ourselves that we deserve the space, and we need to do the things we do and put our minds on. And yes, so maybe I have to re-record some parts again. Maybe I'll have to record everything again. So, and I record this time not in a row, but just some snippets I'll have to put together. But yeah, so the more you pause, the harder it's to get into the pace of recording, because previous time I had 1 month and I had 4 videos, which I tried to put online every week or so, every 2 weeks at least. And I had a break during the holidays, and I knew that beforehand that I won't record anything, and had other things I was busy with. But yeah, mostly it was family time, and I've got to spend it with some people that I don't see very often as much as I would love to. And it's a wish of some people, some family members, not to be put in any way in photos or videos into social media, because some of them don't have any social media, or at least they don't use it for personal things, in personal way. But yeah, so I respect that privacy, and myself, I don't share as much as you may think, or it may seem in the beginning, because sometimes I post words, sometimes not. I have months of silence, and usually it's because I'm writing or going on through some stuff, or just busy. But or I just want to delete social media. It happens a lot also. But yeah, I don't share as much as I don't share some stuff. And even sometimes when I post pictures online, and I post mainly myself, and for instance I spend some time with other people, and they can be in other pictures from the day, and you probably won't see that online, because those people, or myself, I decided not to post that. So yes, 2025, video 5, the magic of numbers. And I'm a linguist. I have learned many languages during my life, and some I know better than others, but I still find this beauty in numbers, and I remember a lot of dates birthdays, kind of random people. It's just my thing, and I learned to live with that, although sometimes it can be bothering just to remember that much. But yeah, my father, he was, I would say, rather, he was a genius mathematician. He could, I think, solve any mathematical problem, and sometimes he would fall asleep when explaining this or that task during my early years at school. But yeah, he was very good, and he also he could play chess with his eyes closed. So yeah, we remember about that many times, and often we think about that often, that he could just play with his opponent sitting somewhere. So he would just memorize the board as it was, and he would just go sit somewhere on the sofa or in the armchair and say the next steps, telling where to put figures, but not looking on the board, practically half asleep. And yeah, he would mostly win. I tell myself every time to not go into the comment section, because eventually you'll find something that you won't like to read, and that happens every time, especially when the topics are triggering and I know beforehand what I'm going to read, but I still do that, and I just can't understand how some folks think. When these fires started, I just had a bunch of posts in the suggested posts on social media, and well, I read some, and yes, I went to the comment section, unfortunately, and I still can't comprehend how people say such things and put it for everyone to see. So there were a lot of comments about so I read about the celebrities losing their houses alone with just average people, and you know, they're people too. And so what I read mostly was that they have millions to spare, and it's just another house, and it's not, we can't compare it to what average people lost, because they can't gain maybe those houses again. And yes, I understand everything, but you see, celebrities are people too, and I would be a hypocrite if I told you that I love or like every celebrity that I know. But you see, they are still people, and they had memories in that third or second house of theirs, and some of them have children, and so they had some personal belongings, photographs that can't be replaced. So it's a tragedy for everyone, and maybe such tragedies. So if we look back at these 5 years, we had pandemic, we still have wars going on, climate changing, and all these catastrophes that are happening around the world. And still, people are, instead of many people are learning lessons, and people are coming strongly together, more than before, more than I can remember before. But still, there's so much hatred, and I wish it could stop. I went into the United States as a part of the program. I was in the exchange student program. I was among 25 the people who won this. It was like a grant, and it was among Eurasia, Russia, and some other parts that were republics before that, like Armenia. So I went at that time. I went from Russia, and so among other 25 people, and from other parts there were some people also, and it was a huge experience, especially since I was 18 at the time. It changed my whole life, and it was a dream of mine for many years before that, as I was inspired by many American movies, music. We were growing up as kids, watching movies about the American dream in general, and believing that everything that you dream of will sooner or later come true. And also, I've started learning English since my early years. But it was always this dream country that I wanted to visit, and so I've got to experience that at 18, and I spent there 1 year, almost 1 year. It was like one educational year, 10 months. We were selected among all these participants. I think there were 10,000 participants altogether in this program, and it was an annual program, and it was a lottery, so it was a competition of 3 rounds. We had to talk about ourselves, writing compositions. It was the first round, and I passed that, and then we went to the capital to have oral competition and some exams, and there were some talking and some grammar check. And I still remember that there was this question. So among the heads of the program, there was an American citizen as a member of the board of that program, and so he asked me during this exam, the oral examination, he asked me, you mentioned that you mentioned that you have a good sense of humor. Is it true? And I said that, well, other people should judge that, something like this. And he just laughed, and I thought that I wouldn't pass, really, because although my English was very good at the time already, but as I started learning it from the early age, and grammar and writing and speaking, everything was in place. And when I arrived, my host father, first of all, he mentioned that I have some accent, but my pronunciation is very, very good, and he is surprised that anyone can learn English that well without living in the country itself. So yeah, but of course, it's first of all, I'm very grateful to my mom, because she is an English professor and she spent most of her life teaching, and she was the initiator of our early English learning and going into that culture. So yeah, that's of course I learned a lot myself, but that was a very good start she gave us. I stayed with the host family. Before that, they only had students from Asia, and so I was the first student from Europe, as they said. So he was a Vietnam War. My host father was a Vietnam War veteran, and my host mom, she was from Vietnam. She was Vietnamese, and they met during that war. She was a little bit older than him, like a decade older, but you couldn't tell. And they were very, very kind, and with their own habits and the way of living. So at that time he was around 60. No, he actually turned 60. That's the year when I was there. And Sean, she was, so his name was Tom, and she was Sean, and sadly so many years passed and they didn't have they had like dial-up internet at that time, and we used it, but they didn't use internet. They only used a stationary phone. You know, they were like old-fashioned in that way. And so after I came back, we exchanged some letters, but then it stopped because, well, everyone was busy, and I guess they, of course, had other students come in every year. But yeah, so yeah, I called several times. I called after coming back, but yeah, we lost that connection, and well, maybe I can't suggest. I wish they were right, but many years passed and I can't tell for sure. But they had children and grandchildren already, and I met them. I think most of them I met, and yeah, I hope they're doing well. So my first major in university was linguistics and translation. But when I went during this program, the major that was similar to that, because there was no linguistics to choose from, was journalism and mass media. And so I chose that because, well, there was already writing back then, and that was close to what I would like to accomplish and experience. And we had free semesters. The first couple of semesters we had mass media, journalism, mass media. So there was the professor, I still remember his name, David Holman. He was this, he loved old Hollywood movies, and he was like he looked like he could easily walk out of any of those movies, and he was always wearing a hat, cowboy hat. But he was very gentlemanlike, and he knew a lot about the history of not only journalism but movies, cinema, and music. And I still remember my first term paper. It was about Motown records and the musicians that would record in the first decades of Motown existing. And so he introduced me to such movies as Casablanca, for instance, because before that I liked movies, I liked cinema, but maybe I wasn't that into that at that time. And after visiting the United States, I watched lots of movies, and so after some events in my life, I went into the movies deeper, into the whole cinema world, and yeah, now I can say that I know a lot about cinema, and I watch lots and lots of movies. Maybe I have this site where you can count all the movies, and I didn't mention all of them, but it's around 3,000, and I think there's more than that, but there is more than that, but yeah, I learned a lot since then, but he was probably one of the first people that introduced us to that part of the American culture. And so he could show a movie during the lessons, but after that we would write it on paper, or just a paper, or communicate, and that was the first course. And also we had the second language, which was German, because I had German back in my university, in my hometown. Also I had Spanish, but it was an additional course. And so yeah, so and another subject we had was writing for a paper, for a college paper. And actually there was a college paper and a town paper. So yeah, we wrote several articles for the town paper, and some every time we wrote, not some, like 2 or 3, 4 every term. And I still keep those papers, newspapers, and those articles with my name in it. And there were several ones that we just combined with other international students. And my friends from the program, they also took that course, and we would sometimes write together those articles. And yeah, Mr. Holman was correcting us and answering all our questions, and we would go into his small office and discuss what is good and not. And once when I wrote one of the papers, he told me something like, your writing is really good, but I don't need Pushkin. I don't need Pushkin in those articles. I need something more journalism-like, and some more straight facts and less poetry, I guess. And yeah, I heard him, and I tried to write in that way after that, at least for the articles, because yes, you have to differentiate what you read in the journals, newspapers, and what you read in the books. That was the competition, but the place, the state that you get to visit was a lottery, and it was random. So, and my state was Washington, and the town was Tacoma. It was near Seattle, and when other members, other people who were in that program with me, they learned that I go to Seattle. They were like, "Oh, you're so lucky! It's Nirvana," and so on, the birthplace of Nirvana, and yeah, and maybe so maybe California was my first wish, but later on I was very grateful that I've got Seattle and Tacoma and Washington in general, because it just the weather is very well moody. I would say it's raining a lot, but the nature is great at the same time, and I didn't mind the rain because it was nice for me, and it was funny that Tacoma and Seattle were very much alike. The hometown, the town I used to live in, and so the bigger town, city, and near it, they were very alike. So a smaller and a bigger town. And when we had holidays or just some weeks that were not that busy during our studies, we would visit Seattle with my friends, and so the first Starbucks was opened there. We went to the market where the first Starbucks was built, and still there. And it's a very busy place, and yeah, we of course visited Space Needle and parks, and took lots of pictures, and yeah, the food was great, people were great, and also I visited the cemetery where Bruce Lee was buried, and it was mainly for my brother because he is a fan of Bruce Lee since early age, and that was maybe that's why we went in for karate when we were kids. I mentioned that before, and yeah, so we sort of grew up on Bruce Lee movies and action movies, all that type. And so I visited the cemetery, and so Brandon Lee's cemetery was nearby, and yeah, lots of sites and places that maybe I don't remember that vividly right now, because still I probably remember Tacoma's places better because I still spend more time there. But yeah, Seattle is very beautiful, but if you would ask me, I would probably still put it the same way. I would live in Tacoma or a town like that in the same state, and just visit Seattle because it was still very busy. I understand that I like busy towns and cities in the way that you can you have lots of opportunities and you can experience many things, but when in general you want some quiet life, you just go back to these quiet towns and live there. Something like that. At least right now I think this way. And yeah, people are. What I remember about people is that they are very, very supportive, and even if you don't ask for help, you can, for example, several times I was very drained from classes and I would just walk my way after school, college, and so a nice couple of elderly people, they would stop in the car and then say, "Are you okay? Is everything right? Can we give you a ride?" And I was practically near the house already, and they said, "No, thank you," but it was so nice. And the bus drivers, for example, if you didn't have any change, we had passes with my friends, with other international students, and we didn't, for example, it was expired that day, or we didn't have the change. So at least maybe 3 or 4 times during that year, I would just get a free ride because the bus drivers were just very nice, and they would you wouldn't even finish the sentence and they would say, "Oh, of course, just go and go have a seat. It's okay." Yeah, and lots of nice, kind gestures like that. And yeah, and I also can say that I was very popular in terms of matrimony, I guess. Just for the popular among the opposite gender, because I had a lot of really lots of proposals to spend some time, to go for a walk, or to be a girlfriend suddenly. So I just remembered recently also that I was just going in the bus, just minding my own business, and this guy would give me a note saying, "Do you have a boyfriend? Do you need one?" So yeah, and just some random people stopping me in the streets and asking me about where I'm from, and that I look beautiful, and that they would like to, I don't know, to know, get to know me better, and something like that. So lots of compliments, and of course I got attention back in Russia also, and in other countries. So usually, like my family and we are compared to Spanish people, Italians, stuff like that, and no one ever can guess that we are Armenians at once, except Armenians maybe, but not all of them. And so yeah, I was in the United States, I can say that I was really popular among, especially among Mexican people, Black people, Latin people, some mixed race, because I guess also the perception of beauty is different in every part of the world. And so we talked about that recently with my sister, that maybe, for instance, Indian people, lots of them in the UK and here in Armenia, surprisingly also, and maybe not surprisingly, especially in our part of the town, there are a lot of Indian people, and so they find, for example, this complex of black hair dark eyes and white skin, they find it beautiful. And so, for instance, you get attention because of that. So, yeah. And yeah, my host father, he had a unique sense of humor, and we would tease each other because I was maybe among all the students. He said that I was the only one who knew English that well, so I could reply anything to him and to his jokes, and he would tease me, and his sarcasm was all over the place. And once he went for the holidays on some islands. He would go and rest in the islands, and at that time we stayed with our host mom. There was like a month or two, I think. Manila Islands he went to, and so he brought me this hoodie and one other gifts. There was also some jewelry, and so he brought. There also were some Japanese students during that time with me in the house, and so I made great friends with them, and I learned a lot about Japanese culture, also Asian culture. And so he brought us hoodies, and mine was gray, and he said, so that's a gray hoodie, and it is as gray as your life. Yeah, but other than that, he was it was really nice. He would take us to dinners, stuff like that. He would bring ice cream, and yeah, several times we rented movies, and I remember I wanted to rent Pride and Prejudice, newer movie, not the 1995 version, 2005 version. And after that, I rented it again, and after that, I just bought the DVD licensed one because I really liked the movie, and yeah. And after that, I read all books of Jane Austen, and to this very day, my brother hates that movie, and he says that it's the worst movie ever made. He says that the movie is shot beautifully, but the sense of the movie, there is no sense in that. But I love that movie, and I love the book. Although I know that maybe if now I read it, I wouldn't be so surprised and astonished as I was when I was 18, going 19. Now I would look at that book differently, but it's still very good written, and there is humor, and there are sentiments. And I've met lots and lots of people from all over the world and from many countries. They were international students, they were just people that I randomly met because I also worked. So I had lessons, and then this program suggested that we took internship in our task was to take internship in a World Trade Center. So it was a branch, Tacoma, downtown Tacoma, and so sometimes after classes, sometimes before that, we would go and work there for several hours, and so, and that was also experience. We would also write something, and but mainly it was office work. And yeah, I also visited Portland, Oregon during spring holidays, and that's an experience of living in the United States, and of course the malls, and the time spent there. And so actually everything, I even went to hip hop for 1 month before the studies started, because yeah, I just wanted to try it, and I did that. And so everything that what I like and love about the United States, that you can just experience so many things, and you can educate yourself and develop yourself in many ways, and there are means and ways to do that for any person. And that's unfortunately that's not true about every other country of the world. This kind of sadly inspired me to talk about LA, but I can't say much because I was there for 2 weeks, and I stayed in my relative's house, and I saw the coastline, the ocean. I saw the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Like, they had some random stars that I took pictures with, like Jackie Chan or Celine Dion. And there was my nephew. He was very little at the time, and I was asked to look after him because my aunt had some errands to do. And so yeah, I looked around, and I think we didn't go all the way this Hollywood Walk of Fame, but still we saw some sites nearby. And what I remember also was a very nice neighborhood, and so they lived in the apartment-like building, and there were oranges growing. It was Christmas time, and there were oranges growing near the apartments, near the houses, and so there was, of course, no snow and no winter-like weather, but still everything was decorated so, like, in a very beautiful way, and every house was better than the other in decorations and in the style, and people were busy but friendly, is what I remember. But also the traffic was maybe among the minuses, was that the traffic was very busy, and to go somewhere you need to spend. So my relatives, they had cars, and so to go somewhere took quite some time. And of course many people know that Glendale is the epicenter of Armenian people, and so we visited Glendale also. And yeah, I thought I'm in Little Armenia for a second, that it's not the United States but Armenia. Every car, from every car you could see an Armenian person from every corner. Yeah, and so of course it was holiday time, and we visited lots of relatives, not mine relatives, relatives of my relatives. And yeah, it was fun case when I just remembered it. recently that one of the relatives of my relatives, she was like the aunt of my aunt, sort of. So she was like a lady of 60 or something at that time, and she had this plan in mind. So as I was there in the United States for 1 year by student visa, and I needed to go back. So it was Christmas time, and I already spent there 5 months in the United States, and I had like another six months, half a year to stay there during my studies. This relative of my relatives, she was a woman of 60 or something. She came up with this plan that she didn't actually tell about. At least I didn't hear it. So there was a celebration during these 2 weeks of my staying in LA. There was a celebration of so there was my aunt, uncle, and that uncle, he had a brother, and so that brother had a birthday. We celebrated in the cafe, and as I understood, it was Armenian cafe in LA, and it was very fancy. So when we arrived there, we were all nicely dressed, and there were like 20-30 people, and there was this one table where all the guests would sit, and there was a parallel table to that one, to our one. There was another birthday going on, and so this lady, the relative of my relatives, she suddenly, when we sat and ate and celebrated for a while, she came up to me and asked me to stand up and go dancing. And she also took this guy who was the one who celebrated the birthday guy. So she also took him by the hand, and she kind of asked us to dance together because it was some sort of ballad or medley song going on. I didn't like that, but I didn't say anything because, well, it took me by the shock. So we just danced with this guy, and he said something, like some compliments or something, and then he invited me to, so it was Christmas time, and so he invited me to accompany him in the park the next day. And I said something like, no, I would like to spend time with my family. And so when this celebration ended, and we had to talk about that the next day or something, we were already just sitting at home with my relatives. And so this aunt and uncle, she said, like, you are a fool because, yeah, I arranged you this nice the meeting with this nice guy. So right now, maybe I have this feeling for quite some time that I can't really feel safe in the world anymore. Maybe it was always like that, but as for me personally, I realize it only in the recent years, maybe after the pandemic and wars and all this catastrophes going on. But yeah, I still think that maybe among the preferable countries where you would love not only to visit but live in the United States. It's the country to consider because I'm very concerned about the guns policy, but I understand the way it works and why it is like that. But still, I'm very concerned, and I hope that it sooner or later it will resolve and people can find peace in that resolution, and it will be better for everyone. And of course there are issues like in any other country, but still it's very convenient in many ways to live there, and as I said, to develop yourself and to have means to, especially for I think artistic people. There are lots of talented people, there are lots of ways to just go for your dreams and achieve them, and there are funds for that, and just other people who are willing to listen and help you. So, and yeah, as I said, I really love this quality of people being very supportive, kind, and giving, really giving. And I think that's why maybe the United States is so prosperous, because people give a lot. And so it's, I think we all know it's the law of the universe. So you give a lot and you receive a lot. Maybe not at once, but sooner or later. And I think it's very true about the United States. And I realized that a lot of things have changed since I last visited, but I would still love to probably experience and visit the same places and new places again with this more broad mind of mine right now. And yeah, I hope that the world heals and everything is alright.